Hello. Okay, so I would like to move on to the second question. Yeah, you told us about what exactly you used to do in India before you chose to move to
So
Canada.
your voice and your video is cutting again.
Again, it's cutting. Just give me some time. Just let me check the other connection. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, sir,
Yes. Okay.
but
So
your video is paused, but I can hear you well.
hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So the question is, what is the reason? What is the exact reason that you moved to Canada? What made you make your mind that you have to move to Canada only, not to any other countries?
So it was very simple when I was in India, and I was working for 2 years. Now again, due to some financial obligations, I couldn't afford doing a post graduation at that time, nor I could afford setting up my own practice. So I worked for 2 years and saved enough so that I can immigrate on a student visa. Uh,
Okay.
why I chose Canada, sir? Because Canada had a direct licensing process. That means
Yes.
it didn't require me to go to university for 2 years, get the education loan. If I have to go to university in Canada, I need to be a permanent resident first, which
Yes. Right.
was which wasn't the case with me. The good
Yeah.
part about NDEB was the direct licensing process.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I had the mindset, 3 sets of exams in the equivalency process. We're going to study, we're going to work well. And we realized that, it is very tedious. It requires immense amount of hard work because you're actually competing
Yeah.
with doctors who are much more experienced and much more qualified than you are. So if someone
Exactly.
was putting in 8 hours, and students in my shoes at that time, we had to put in 12 hours just to
Right.
match that. So it was
International
basically
standard.
the, it's the need of an hour, sir. It's how badly you want it.
Yeah.
Well, the goal, the basic aim of coming to Canada was practicing dentistry. But at the same time, there were a lot of issues, which we'll talk about as we discuss as we move on.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Now, tell us about your journey. Your journey, as you said, you started your journey as a student because you at that time you seem to be not eligible for the express entry profile, right? Express entry. So you started your journey as a student, international student. So can
Yes,
you
sir.
shed some light on your journey as an international student? What exactly you did? What exactly you did to select a program, particular program?
Yes, sir. So when I was deciding to select a program, a lot of times we think that we might as well get into a diploma, get a post-secondary diploma, but it gets rejected some of the time, because we as dentists in India, we are considered overqualified for the post-secondary diploma. Well,
Yeah.
some students would have got it for sure, but me and some of my friends back in the days, they got into dental assisting, which is a 1 year program.
Yeah.
My mindset was that if I'm going to immigrate, I might as well do a course which would give me, which would, certainly secure my approval of a student visa. So I
Yeah.
decided to do masters in administrative sciences,
Okay.
with global health and human service system being my majors. And this was in Fairleigh Dickinson University in Vancouver. So it was
Okay.
masters of 2 years. And then on top of that, I was given 3 years of an open work permit.
Yeah.
An open work permit means that after finishing your 2 years, you can work
Yeah.
in any stream. So my mindset was to get those 2 years of my master's,
Yeah.
uh, and you're allowed to work. You're allowed to work all sorts of odd
Yeah.
jobs. So while I was doing my master's, I was working as a sales rep in a souvenir store. I worked as a waiter in an Indian restaurants. I worked
Mm-hmm.
as dishwashers in different restaurants. I
Mm-hmm.
work in gas stations. So we had to do all of this to support ourselves. And it's not me. Everyone who comes here works this hard because, you know,
Right. Right.
when you're by yourself and you're not a permanent resident, when you know you won't get any loans or anything, you have to
Yeah.
support yourself.
Yeah.
So in those 2 years of my master's, there was also a stress of getting a permanent residency,
Yeah.
because
Right.
you finish your 2 years and then you have 3 years.
Yeah.
And in order to qualify at that time, I needed to have a 1 year of Canadian work experience. It is The dentistry
Yes.
is nowhere in the picture right now. So my goal
Yeah.
was to finish those 2 years. As soon as I finished those 2 years, I was very fortunate because at that time also I was involved in a lot of co-curricular activities. So as soon as I finished my master's, I got a job in the healthcare industry. Not, of course,
Okay.
it was not a dental job, but yes, because
Yeah.
for any dental job that you do in Canada, be dental assistant, be dental hygienist, dentist, you need license. So when I finished my master's in
Yes.
administrative sciences, I was very fortunate that I landed up with a good job that would give me enough points to help me secure my permanent residency.
Right.
So 2 years of my master's, followed by 1 year of Canadian work experience, that means 3 years, made me eligible for the Canadian PR.
Yes.
Once I was eligible for the Canadian PR and I applied for the PR, I started my equivalency process. But I had
Okay.
already submitted my profile. It was approved in 2014 only, as soon as I came there. At
Yeah.
that time, it was not, the waiting wasn't that bad the way it is now because of the influx of a lot of dentists.
Yes.
So I think, if I remember, it was about 3 months at that time,
Yeah.
which took my profile to be updated. So yeah, as soon as this, there was a mental barrier of getting the PR. Once that was behind me, then I started focusing on the equivalency process.
Right. Right.
And I wrote my AFK, my first AFK,
Okay.
and and I at that time I didn't have the luxury to just focus on education, because as a student at that time, we had to make sure that we can pay our rent properly, we can do our telephone bills
Yeah.
properly, we can do our
Yeah.
groceries properly. So there was a stress of that, and then there was education. But then
That was everything in
somehow
when you're in Vancouver. You're in
I was in
Vancouver, right?
Vancouver at that time. I was in
Yeah.
Vancouver that time. I just, yeah, so we were working and then we were studying. And
Okay.
fortunately, at that time, uh, I cleared the AFK in the first attempt. But now that
Okay.
was me. But if the candidates are listening, and if you're on a permanent resident, if you're already a permanent resident in Canada and your basic goal is dentistry, just don't think about doing any job, because right now, and even when I was, the competition is very high, the standard
Yeah.
is very high. You need to
Yeah.
make sure that you give at least 5 months of good studying. When I say good studying, Like
Only studying.
it, only studying,
Yeah.
only studying. I was fortunate that I could work and I cleared. But now it's like I still don't know how it happened, but it happened because I used to study a lot also. I used to work and then come from work, and I used to study, study, study. And you have to make sure. I was very fortunate also in a way that I was surrounded with very experienced and smart people who also helped me. When you're surrounded with some intelligent, nice people around you who can
You're
actually
right.
help you and who can
Exactly.
actually be with you, and you guys can study together, because yeah.
Right.
So that was the first thing that I did.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You muted yourself. Okay, okay. That's good enough. That's a lot of information you shared there.
Can you hear me, sir?
Your journey as yeah, yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear you, Varun.
I can hear you, sir.
Can we can we move on to the next
Please,
question?
sir.
Can we move on to the next
Yes, sir.
question? Yeah. So the next question is, as you just mentioned that uh, the end process that you have started, when you have exactly started your end process. So the thing is, you as international student, when you are completely secure that yes, my PR process is in pipeline and I can finally get through the PR process, at that time we are started with the end process, right? Before that, you're just focusing on your studies, you're focusing on your work, and once you get your 1 year experience and 2 year study, then you started with your end process, right? So
Yes, sir.
how exactly you started with your end process?
So
What was the
first of all,
certificate available that time? What exactly
yes, sir.
you looked for and all those things?
Yes, sir. So on that time, the first and the foremost thing was, when I was working for 1 year, I had to make sure that I have enough capitation saved for the process, because
Right,
this process would require a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of expenses.
right,
So you have to be prepared for that. Uh, Keeping in mind that no one, there are a lot of students, there are a lot of doctors who clear the whole process in the very first attempt of all the exams.
yeah, one go,
But
right,
one go, exactly. But you have three attempts for each exam: AFK, ACJ, and ACS. And some
yeah,
people have actually taken three attempts to clear. So, but
right,
obviously, when you take those three attempts and when you're in the process, you need those finances to back you up. So
right,
as soon as I was also secured financially, that I know that I can do the first step, so I moved on to my first step. And when I finished, and yes, of course, as your question, I knew that my points are enough for me to get the permanent residency here.
yeah,
Second, I knew that I have saved enough to at least start the process with my first exam, which is the AFK, uh,
right,
so that I could manage the fee of the exam. I could manage the coaching, which is an integral part of it,
right,
required for the exam. And I could also manage few weeks off work, so that I can just, towards the end of the exam, I could just focus on my studies.
right.
uh, so yes, sir, these are the three things that I made sure that I'm secured about, and then I start the process.
Before starting your end equivalency process, yeah,
Yes, sir. And at that time, in 2014, since I was not in Toronto, Toronto is it's like the educational city right now. There are a lot of
yeah,
institutes there, and when I say a lot of institutes, that means there are good teachers, there are good professors who their aim is to make us pass. Their aim is to make sure that we have the right material to study. So if I get a lot of questions sometimes that which institute's the best, which institute you should join. Well, it totally depends on you and what you want to do, because everyone is equally qualified to guide you in the right path, and that's
They're
what they will do.
sharing the same things, they are sharing the same contents, they are not doing something which is rocket science, right? So everyone
Exactly.
has, they're sharing the same content but in a different way. Each and
Yes, sir.
everyone, they have their own way to educate your candidates and everything. So
Yes, sir.
basically everything is same, but still I think you have to be very careful while choosing your institute, while choosing
Yes, sir.
your coaching, because there are many people who have started with individual coachings as well nowadays. So
Okay.
what do you feel, how efficient it is? You think they have some credibility, or you should be going with some institutes which have proper support, which have proper history of doing all these
Of
things?
course, sir. Of course, sir. When you're doing your due diligence, when you're researching, because when you're joining an institute, you're paying your hard-earned money with a
Yeah,
hope of passing the exam. uh,
right,
there is no one who will pay the money and say, oh, this is my first attempt, let's try this institute and then I'll
right.
see. So at the very first time, you have to be very focused on which institute you want to join. So do your due diligence. Dr. Patel, consult them. There are you would have some seniors, you would have a lot of people. Speak to the institutes also, and then make that decision. In Vancouver,
The thing
we
is,
had, yeah.
yeah, the thing
Yes,
is, this is applicable to you when you are inside Canada. You can do all these things,
exactly,
right? But
exactly.
when you are outside Canada, you don't have anyone, because see, people are not going to entertain you until and unless you are inside Canada, right?
Of course, sir.
Right. They're not even, they don't even share their content of the examination with those
No one
candidates
will.
if you are outside Canada, right?
No one will.
Now this COVID situation, it had changed the equation somehow, but again, the people who are outside Canada, there is no resources, there is no exact point, like a source from where they'll get the information, like which institute is good, where
Yes, sir.
exactly they should look for, and all those things. So that is again a challenge in itself, that
Yes, sir.
many of my candidates, they are facing the
Yes.
same issue. They are asking for the institute, they're asking, many people, they want to know if they can do the coaching from India, because there is one coaching institute from Canada which has center in India, but again the content and all those things vary a lot. So that's why it is again
I'm
very
sure.
important to select your institute very carefully, do your studies and all before joining any particular institute. Again,
Yes, sir,
very
that's
much
true.
help
And
is
I think,
needed, very much.
yes, sir, very, to join the right institute, you need a lot of guidance, because you have to make sure you have everything together that you need to study. Your work is to study. Your work is
Right,
not to call
right,
people and ask them, Ki, do you have this material? Do you have that material? Your aim is to study, and you
right,
should join an institute which supplies you with everything that is needed. So a due
right.
diligence, a proper guidance, and a proper mentorship is necessary when you join the institute. So
Exactly, exactly.
in Vancouver that time, sir, we just had one institute at that time, Dr. Rahman.
Right,
She was an excellent professor, and so we were their student, me and a lot of friends of mine, and fortunately, I cleared the AFK in my first attempt,
right,
and then I moved on to my second step, which is the ACJ. Now, ACJ is, I don't know if all of you, I'm sure all of you would know, but ACJ is the assessment of your clinical judgment. It is a case-based examination where you given cases from all the subjects, and then one, I think it's 2 hours that are fully dedicated to just radiology. So they would ask about a
right,
lot of radiographs and different sorts of radiographs and your diagnosis on that. So
right,
when I came on to the second step, I actually left my job, uh, because what I did was, and it's completely me, I had some financial obligations, as I said. So I used to give the AFK, then I used to take a 6 months break. I didn't give the
right,
exam directly. I
right,
took a 6 months break, and in those 6 months, I worked, and then I saved for my second step.
right,
And I then gave my ACJ in 2018. Uh,
right,
and yeah, and then the ACJ was behind me.
right,
Now comes
right,
the skills. Now skills is uh, It's the most challenging exam according to me. Uh,
And the most expensive.
and the most expensive, I left
Yeah.
my job, I didn't work, but I made sure that after my clinical judgment I worked for about good 8 9 months to save enough to get into the clinical skills. So
Right.
basically, clinical skills exam is, they give you about 12 tasks, from crown preps to class 2 cavity preps on special teeth. uh, and it is like 6 months. I practiced for 6 months. I used to be at the institute, as Dr. Abhijit Patil was saying. I chose the institutes properly, and I made sure that I have an institute where I could get a good amount of practice time. So I was just at my institute from 7 in the morning to about 7 in the evening, and just for practicing. It's that skills exam is actually, you're developing your muscle memory. And sometimes it's always
Yeah.
said that sometimes, like, for example, Dr. Abhijit Patil and me, when I was a fresher, I had a better chance at that skills exam because I didn't have a muscle memory of practicing so much dentistry in India as he
Right.
does. So I
Right.
could adapt to doing that skills exam more efficiently and more quickly than my senior, or than my own professor, because as this professor would teach me, I would just copy him. I
Right.
would just copy him. So, and it's about how much you practice. The skills exam is, you are developing your skills, you're developing your muscle memory. It's like, our professors used to say, it's like a labor job. You get up in the
Yeah.
morning, you do the same thing every day for 6 months. The
Over and
skills,
over and over and
over and over again, you will get bored of it, you will face a lot of issues, you will have bad days, you will have good days. But the most important thing, I tell you, for people who are getting into this process, the most important thing, of course, you have professors to guide you, to teach you, to mentor you, but there's one thing that no one will teach you, is to how to calm yourself down and how to calm the anxiety, because all these
right.
exams are very high pressure exams.
Right.
Even the coolest and the calmest of people, I've seen people faint during the skill exams.
Yeah. I know. I know. I know.
I myself, when I was in the exam for the first 1 hour, I was sweating. I've never sweat like that in my life. The
I
adrenaline
have
is high.
seen candidates. I have seen this 2019 on 2020. I have seen candidates returning from the center
Yeah,
because there is so anxiety in them that it
yeah,
was their last chance. So they didn't attempt the exam. They just came
yeah,
back from the center. That is the level
yeah.
of anxiety with the
Yes, and
candidate.
it's. Trust me, the most important thing is how you manage that. You need
Right.
to have confidence in yourself. You need to, as I said again and again, you need to make sure you surround yourself with good people and good mentors, who can be with you and who can make you understand, okay, this is just an exam, just give your best. Because, and the anxiety is very normal, sir, because
Right.
you've given 6 months day in and day out, you've spent so much, okay, you are away from your family, like, through this process, I saw my family after 4 years, uh,
Right.
when I was here. So there is so much at stake, and it
Right.
all trust me, when you're giving those skills exam, that's the only time when it all hits you, right here, that,
The
oh,
weight
this
of those
task.
things is on you. The weight of all
Yeah.
those things is
And when you're giving those skills exam, mistakes will happen,
right.
issues will come in your exam. That's when you have a professor, that's when you have a mentor who will teach you that if mistakes happen, how you overcome that.
Right.
It is about working hard. The equivalency process is definitely about working hard, but it is also about working smartly.
Smartly. Yes. Exactly.
There are people who I've seen. I am an example of a person who in life I've worked hard, but I've seen people who are smart.
Right.
Like, I would work for 12 hours straight for my skills exam because I knew that this is it, this is what I want to do. But there are individuals and there are students who would just work for 4 hours, they would work smartly, pack their bags, go home, and they
Yeah.
clear.
And that makes you more anxious, that makes you
Yes.
more uncomfortable. That what exactly happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's all said and done. I know that I'm cool and I can manage the exam, but trust me, when you're in this process is not the equivalency process. It's not even testing you that how knowledgeable and how intelligent and how skillful you are, but it's also teaches you how to calm down, how to take care of your anxiety, and how to humble down a bit also, because you will see everybody works hard for this exam. When you get into this
Right.
process and you will start studying, you will see everyone's working hard. But as I said over and over again, it's very important to make sure that you have the proper guidance and proper support. That's
Right.
very important. You
From day
need
one, from day one
from
you
day
need.
one. Because
Right.
so for my thing, if I'm talking to everybody in 2014, probably I was a graduate, 2 years graduate. If I would have
Yeah.
thought, I assumed, as I said, I assumed that I was not eligible for a permanent residency. Probably I would have,
Right.
but I didn't have the right information.
Yes. Right.
I didn't have, a person to guide me.
Right. Exactly.
So I chose to come on a student visa, of course,
Right.
which costed me more and which took some time before I could get into the NDEB process and clear it.
Right.
So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that's pretty
So
much it, sir.
So the NDEB process, you have
Yes, sir.
explained your experience about as a student as NDEB process that you have gone through NDEB process. So I hope at this during this period of time you have got your permanent residency as well, right?
Yes, sir.
So being permanent resident, it makes you eligible for this bridging program, this degree completion program, and everything. So why you go for this program? Why you didn't go
Sir,
for?
I think.
Yes. So these when during your journey as student, can you hear me?
So I think someone's mics was on.
I just muted that. Yeah.
Your voice is just echoing to me. Just a second.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but for some reason the voice is. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Yeah, it's fine now. Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah. So as you're going through your process as a student through NDA process, that at some point you got your permanent residency. So that
Yes,
made
sir.
you eligible for this bridging program, this degree completion program. So what made you think that you don't have to go for this DDS or DNP program, but you have to continue your path on the NDA equivalency process?
So first of all, I was very clear in my head that I don't want to take. I've already worked so hard through the whole process. So my intention was that I don't want to take any loan
Right.
to get into the degree completion, because 2 years, if you're a permanent resident,
Right.
you take the loan for the education, and you get that easily. If you're a permanent resident and you get into university, you will get that easily. There's no worries. But first of all, when I got my PR, I'd already given my AFK and my ACJ.
Right.
And from the very beginning,
Hello. Hello. Hello.
yes, sir. So
Yeah. Yeah.
as I said, so from the very beginning, so I had very clear that I want to do the equivalency process. Of course, the equivalency process, it's it's more difficult than I would say. Uh, but yes, sir, my mindset was to get to do the equivalency process. But as I said,
So
if you want to go for
avoid
degree
any
completion, yes, sir. And
yeah.
also, and I did clear my AFK, but my score wasn't that competitive as it
Okay.
needs to be, because
Right.
I was working and for reasons. Um, right now, so the competition is so high that
Yes.
the minimum you need is about 85, and you need a lot of shadowing experience. you need a lot of volunteer work. Your resume should be
Yeah,
good.
very
You
strong.
should have
It should show some Canadian experience, Canadian things in it. And
exactly.
5, you're still. I know you're out of this process now, but I've seen
Yeah,
people who have scored 199 in their FK but didn't get
yeah.
through the admission because
That's
they
possible.
lack somewhere.
That's
Because
possible.
they lack somewhere, not in their AFK score, but
No.
somewhere in their resume, somewhere in their forte, somewhere they lack. So again,
Yes.
that time they didn't have any of the guidance that what exactly you have to look for when you apply for these degree completion program, because things are written on those universities website, but we
Yeah.
just sometimes fail to read between the lines, you know. So
That's
when you
true.
have to learn to read between the lines, then you are understand the process. You have to be in contact with the people who have seen this process, who have gone through this process.
True,
So
sir.
now the
Yeah.
degree completion program, it has its own, I would say, advantages also and disadvantages also.
Yes, sir.
But the
Yes, sir.
first and foremost thing is you need to be a permanent resident and a
Yes, sir.
citizen of Canada to be
Yes, sir.
eligible for this program, right?
A permanent resident for
So that's
sure.
the first and foremost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir. I know. Yeah.
I hope I we have discussed few very important points here about your coaching, about your journey and everything what you have started. So now I just want you to ask some basic like bold points like uh, through NDEP process. Now today in today's discussion we are mainly focusing on the NDEP equivalency process because you have
Yes,
gone
sir.
through it, you have seen it, you have gone through the experience of being an international student and all those things. So in NDEP equivalency process, what do you feel the importance of coaching? Or means
Sir,
many people they ask the candidate, they just ask that we can gather some material from this, we can gather and we can just read it ourselves and we can try clearing these exams. So what is the importance of coaching?
so there is the. I would say that I'm a person that I would need coaching. I want to be very systematic in my approach of getting myself educated.
Right,
A, it would save the hassle from asking people around. That can you please send me the material? Can you please send me the material? Coaching plays a very important role, sir. There are institutes. The material would be provided to you. That would be
right,
say like, Varun, this is the material. Read, understand. 24 hours question and answers are there. If you have any doubts, the mock exams are the most important thing. They
right,
would be conducted. You would be put in a scenario which is exam based.
right.
Are there people who have cleared the exam without any coaching? Yes.
Yes, there
But
are.
right now the competition, the competitiveness is so high that you need
Right.
be it the coaching or even be it the permanent residency, sir. Because
Right.
I mean, if you talk about so much happening now, there are so many influx of international dentists in
Right.
Canada, that even though when you're
Right.
applying
Right.
for an exam center, it gets full quickly.
Right.
So that shows you
Yes,
that there are
exactly.
so many. And I was one of, when I was preparing, I was one of the youngest in my lot. Like
Right.
they were so qualified. There were oral surgeons studying with me, there were radiologists studying with me, there were endodontists studying with me. But the good thing was that everyone in this process is so helpful that you have any doubts, you ask them. Of course the professors are there too, but you need to
Right.
have a good group of people who you can study with. That is very important
Right.
in all
Yes,
this
that is again
equivalency
very
process.
important thing. I was going to come on to something called as a group study. You know, for
Yes, sir.
AFK, for
Yes, sir.
AFJ. Now there are many group sessions which happens like selective people, 4 or 5 people. They'll make their one group, and
Yes,
they
sir.
will sit together and they'll discuss the things after coaching, after coming from the coaching, after coming from the class, and they will learn from that. So that is
True.
again, I think, very important thing. When you learn along with someone, your
Yes, sir.
points, your questions, your doubts are also answered properly in a proper way. And you when you interact with someone, that help you to retain that memory, that particular content in your brain very precisely. Okay,
Yes,
because
sir.
endemic equivalency exam is not only about writing an exam. The question that they are fabricated, they are made, they test your English language as well. right? So you
Yeah.
have to be very thorough with your English language too.
So coming on to the question part. So the basic idea what you need to study is that if you have a question, it is a multiple choice question, and you have four
Right.
options. You need to make sure
Right.
if the first answer, if it's correct, why it is correct. Of course, you would know why it is correct. But you also need to make sure that the
Right.
three incorrect answers are not correct, why they are not correct.
Right. Right.
So you need to know about all four options that you'll have in the question, because
Right.
sometimes what they do is you would read a question which is a released question which is already asked. Now they
Yeah.
will refabricate that question
Yeah.
based on the different answer that they had. So
Right.
your your study and your knowledge should be like, okay, I know that the answer A is correct, but why answer
Yeah.
B, C, D are not correct. So this is the
Not
approach,
correct.
at
Right.
least for
Exactly.
AFK, you need to have. ACJ
Yeah.
is a case-based exam. If
Exactly.
you see leukoplakia in the mouth and has a history, the answer is that. There is no uh, you know
Yeah.
uh, uh, black and white. That's it.
You
This
have
is the answer.
evidence.
This
You
is
have evidence in front of you.
exactly. But in AFK,
Yeah.
one question can also have two correct answers. So
Yes.
now
Exactly.
your your uh, your approach to your education and your approach to your training,
You're
that I would sum up by saying that this is why the questions and the answers, this is why a coaching and an institute is so important
important.
to give
Exactly.
you to give you the approach. You can study
Yeah.
15 hours a day, but
Yeah.
then if you don't know the right strategy, if you don't know how the questions are asked, then it gets really tricky.
Really tricky for you to answer
It
to answer
is.
the.
It is. It is.
So for that,
AFK, ACJ.
hello.
I lost you here, sir. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Please
Can you
repeat,
hear
sir.
me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So that's the tricky part, and that's why, when I did my study for a particular coaching institute, right, I have visited many coaching institutes. I have studied their way of working, how exactly they work. I have
That's good.
visited their students who are
That's
taking
good.
coaching from those particular institutes. I have seen the way they have studied,
Oh,
and there is
wow.
significant amount of difference between a student of coaching institute A and coaching institute B. So that's why when I
That's true.
want to guide my candidates, I would be guiding them to a particular institute because I have seen it firsthand how exactly that work, right?
That's true.
Because they don't want to spend their time on studying about which coaching institute is good, where they'll get good experience. We'll try this one on this time. If not, then we'll move on to the second coaching institute. So that is something that you cannot do, right? And
That's
plus
true.
you are competing with international standards, so you are competing with uh, people who are coming from all over the world, right? So
Yes,
you
sir.
have to get their idea as well inside your head.
Of course.
So how
Of
exactly
course.
these things work, right?
Of course. Of course.
Exactly. So this is pretty well sums up all the things that we need to discuss about the process. We had some questions from before starting this webinar. I've received some questions, like many questions from my candidates and who are following me on my WhatsApp group and everywhere. So we'll have some quick question and answer session after this.
Sure, sir.
But
Sure,
before
sir.
we stop this conversation, I would say, what is your takeaway message from your journey as from international student to a Canadian PR to a
Yeah.
licensed dentist now successfully practicing in New Brunswick, Canada?
Yes, sir. So, so two things, sir. First of all, relating to the students over there who are probably in the same shoes where I was, who are thinking that they won't be able to get the permanent residency. No, make sure that you do your study first. Probably you might be eligible,
Yeah,
because we are dentists, we are dental graduates, and
yeah,
our points get high. So make sure you have a right consultancy. And even if
yeah,
you're not qualified, even if you are coming here on a student visa, make sure you select the courses properly. Just don't
yeah,
get into any diploma course, because the chances of your visa rejection will get very high. because
Right.
you're qualified dentist. You need to make sure that you enroll yourself in, I'm talking about a different course, not dentistry, just as a student to come in. So make sure you
There are
select
again many things. There are many again many things when you choose for a particular program, that it
exactly.
should be SDS eligible, then your
Yes.
GICs, then your expenses, and all those,
Yeah.
the workload of the particular
Yeah.
program, how much
Yeah.
workload is there,
Yeah.
study load is there,
Yeah.
and all these things are very important, right? Selecting a
Yeah.
program, and when
And,
selecting your immigration process, right? So
mm,
immigration process for dentistry, many candidates, when the time I have started the consultations and everything, so many people, candidates, they ask for PNPs, like provincial nomination program,
yes, sir.
right? Which is not that much. Being dentist, we are not eligible for those programs, provincial nomination program. Again, just to start with immigration part, international dentists, they have to focus on immigration, they have to focus on education program, they have to
Exactly.
focus on getting their NDEP profile ready, they have to focus on getting their NDEP
Exams. Yeah.
equivalency process. So you have to put your hands on multiple things. This is not the
Yeah.
case in case of, you say, engineers, okay,
Yeah.
because it is not a licensed or regulated profession. So we have to go through so many processes at once, so that what it makes more tedious for us being a dentist,
That's
right?
true.
So
So,
yeah,
yeah.
we'll
Yes, sir.
we'll go back to
So,
that.
so if you're coming as a student, it is doable. If I can do it, you can do it too. So don't think that if you do not have the right finances, but you want to come to this country, and if you come by your savings, you can do the process.
Right,
It's very simple.
right,
Second are the permanent residents. Okay, if you are financially secured and you come here, then just dedicate yourself to studying, and it gets easy because then you're financially secured. You don't have to worry about the other aspects.
right,
But also, if you get your permanent residency and you're still concerned about uh, the expenses, a lot of banks now have actually started giving loans for the equivalency process. So you can
yes,
always contact the bank. Each exam, these banks have certain amount of money that they can loan you to prepare for
yes,
the exam. So that is also another way. All in all, sir, I would say that these exams, like my seniors and my friends used to tell me when I was getting into the process, I tell you guys that it is doable. All you
yeah,
need to do is you need to work hard and you need to work smart, and it is doable. If
right,
you put in your 100%, and you can do it. If I can do it, then you guys can do it too. It is not of course it is competitive, but if you put in all your efforts, if you put in, it's a need of an hour. It's how badly you need it. So
right,
yeah, yeah, sir, it is doable. But just again, as I said, just make sure you have the right information, you have the right guidance.
right,
Reduce your workload for yourself. Make
yes,
sure you just focus on your studying, your
yes,
PR, your how to approach the exam, what institute to join, all that. Gather information, make sure you have a mentor for that. Your goal is to study, and that's it.
right, right. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is really, really helpful. And
My
just to
pleasure.
just to summarize these things, again, I would come to my work with IDC. That what exactly I'm doing is the thing that you have said. When you decide to move to Canada, till the time you pass out from your NDEB equivalency process, certification process, and you start searching for your employment. So the International Dentist Canada IDC provides from start to end counseling of those candidates, sensitizing those candidates, making aware of the situation, the ground situation, ground level situation which is there in Canada, guiding them through each and every process, taking load off them, okay, and just asking them to study, focus on their path, on their NDEP equivalency process, and just get through it without any hassles, okay.
Yes, sir.
So yes, that's it. So now again, I thank you for your all the helpful information and
my
everything.
my pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
It was really wonderful to see you after a long time, and just to connect with such a resourceful thing, for such a resourceful thing, for sharing your knowledge, my knowledge, to with all these candidates who are willing very much to go through Canada and settle themselves and establish themselves as a licensed dentist. So
That's
now,
true, sir.
from this, we'll move on to a short question and answer session.
Sure,
So
sir.
I would like to tell everyone that we will try to explain um, means questions as much as possible. If we couldn't, then I will personally, after discussing with Dr. Varun, I'll get back to you on email. I have your email address, so I'll get back to you with your answers with the email, right? So, Dr. Varun, shall we start with the question answer session?
Please, sir. I just to cut you out, sir. I just on the chat, I just saw one question asked by a doctor about having job opportunities after you complete the licensing process. That means job opportunities as
Yeah,
dentist. Uh, so very,
yeah,
some people would say, oh, there are jobs. There are jobs.
yeah,
Canada is it's a big country. There's a lot of immigrants coming in. It's a very warm and
yeah,
welcoming country, and if you find and if you have the right resources and if you communicate well, network yourself well, there are
yeah,
jobs.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, people are asking how you managed it financially, like after getting your PR, how did you survive there? I hope you have already answered that question very well with
Yes.
your job that you took a break in between your exam. You work for 6 months,
Yes,
then
sir.
you attempted your next exam. So those 6 months, it helped you to gather your resources, to
Yes, sir.
gather your commercials, to gather your
Yes.
finances, so that you can
Yes.
move on to the next step in your career, right?
Yes, sir.
So the next question is, please suggest some good courses after BDS. It's really confusing. Yes, this is something I hope. Shall I answer this question,
Please,
Varun?
sir. Please.
So see the good courses again, as Dr. Varun said, he is BDS himself. He chose his course carefully. That he chose a course for 2 years. Okay. Now the thing is, when you choose a course which is of 1 year duration, it gives you postgraduate work permit of 1 year. When you choose a course of 2 years duration, it gives you a work permit eligibility for 3 years. Okay, so you have to choose a program which is of 2 years minimum, so it will give you a job opportunity for next 3 years. So as Dr. Varun said, that you should be probably going for your master courses rather than going for post secondary diplomas or something like that. There are some postgraduate diplomas as well, but again, that is, if it is more than 1 year, around 15 months or 18 months, that again, that is pretty well too. But most of the people, most of the candidates, they just keep coming back to program called dental hygienist, right? So when talking about dental hygienist program, it has too much of workload on you. It won't allow you to work, it won't allow you to study for your end up equivalency process, because you are so much involved in that program. Plus, the next important thing is your dental hygienist program, they are very expensive. Okay, the fees cost somewhere around 40,000 to 50,000 Canadian dollars. That is something you need for your NDEB equivalency process. So you cannot afford to lose that much amount of money on a course that you are not going to follow, or that you're not going to practice in your future. If your aim is
True.
just to practice as a dental hygienist, yes, you can choose this program. Again, as an international students, there are very few colleges which offers this program to international dentists, international students, and these program doesn't allow you to work for 3 years. That is the biggest thing that with the dental hygienist program. So yes, postgraduate diplomas and the master's programs are the best program you should be going with. So now moving on to the next question. uh, Please tell scholarship course that we can do, not necessarily dentist course. Please throw some light on the current job opportunities after clearing. Yes, Dr. Varun already clear that question. Then next question is, what is the credit thing in Canada that is given to professional course student? Yeah, so the thing is that just Dr. Varun mentioned. I'll tell you in brief. There is bank called CIBC, okay, and there are some other financial institutes like Windmill Microlending and Access Opportunities. They provide only to permanent residents and Canadian citizens with the financial assistance. Now, the credit thing is, uh, when you register for, when your profile get approved and when you registered for your AFK examination, they'll give you a $25,000 assistant. Okay, so when you get that assistant, you might not need all those money, right? So whatever money you take from that bank, the interest part starts immediately. You have to start paying the interest immediately on whatever amount you take as a credit from that bank. Okay, so that has to be clear with you. And this is only available to the people who are Canadian permanent residents and or a Canadian citizens. This is not applicable for international dentists. International dentists, again, they have to manage their own expenses like Dr. Varun did. He worked for his own, and he gathered his finances, and with 6 month break, and then he appeared for these examinations, right?
Yeah, and it is doable. So for
Yeah,
people who are thinking that I'm not a permanent resident and I don't
yeah,
have finances, but
yeah.
you have a dream of coming here and working here, it is doable. You can do it. It's
It's
simple.
doable. Very well, very well. After BDS and 1 year experience, can I directly apply for PR from India? Now, this is again, uh, PR is the thing which is calculated. The CRS point and the eligibility is calculated based on many things, many aspects, right? So, education is one part, work experience is another, efficiency, proficiency is another. Then, if you have some relative, there are multiple factors. There are 7 to 8 factors which you have to consider when you have to think about applying for Canadian permanent residency. Again, that is a very different process than your NW equivalency process. And if you want to know more about this, you can directly contact me, and
Yes,
I'll,
sir. You'll be the
because,
right person for this, sir.
yeah, because Varun is here with helping us with the NW equivalency process, and as an international student, that is what he went through, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So moving on to the next question. Uh, are there any particular courses that can aid in university admission for the DDS? So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You know, masters in public health, masters in administrative sciences, which I did, global health and human service system. Doing well. Say, as Dr. Patil had already mentioned, that the university is here. The good thing here is that, of course, they will see your score, but they don't 100% rely on your score. They would
yeah,
see, they would see you. They want to judge you. They want to see the person you are. They want to see
they'll interview you.
what
They'll
you have
interview.
done.
Yeah,
Exactly. There's a personal interview. So they will see what you have done in order to make sure that they give you admission. So it is not just
right,
scoring 95. As I said that the minimum you need 85. Uh, but I've also seen some of my colleagues with a score of 82, with a score of 79, get through university because they were very well versed, and they had a good personality, and they had done so much of volunteer
right,
work, and they portrayed themselves as that they needed that admission. So it depends on how well you groom yourself.
right, right, right. Exactly. So the next question is, can I please know what are the fellowship courses having scope in Canada after BDS and MDS from India? You'd like to answer that?
Sir, I'm not too well versed with the fellowship courses. I don't know if they're asking about getting back to university for 2 year DDS or
So about the fellowship courses from India, I'll tell you, your BDS and or your MDS is enough. You don't have to do anything else from India, because till the time you don't complete your NDEP equivalency process, any of the degree or license degree or regulated degree won't
won't
have
be
any
counted.
value,
Yeah,
right? So even if it is a fellowship program from India or whether it is any other program, it won't have any value until and unless you have your license in your hand, right? So when you have your license in your hand, there are programs in Canada that you can do, which will help you in better way rather than doing some fellowship programs in India, right? So if your BDS and or your MDS is more than enough from India to start with, rather than if you already have some fellowship program, that is added advantage provided that you have completed your end of equivalency process or you have completed your degree completion program, then these programs or fellowship, they hold a value, right? So the next question, what if we have a master's degree from another country in healthcare administration? Will it be considered as equivalent to get a job, and the importance of having work experience in that case? And again,
Uh,
Dr. Varun,
so,
then
so
I'll.
as I
Yeah,
said, sir, if you have experience in that, we're not talking about dentistry here. We're talking about healthcare administration or public health. Sure, you can but can would like if you don't have a PR and if you're applying for a job, uh, would you be considered? You might, but it's good when you're in the process, and it's good when you're in the country, and it's good
yeah,
when you apply within. Like, there is a lot of internal recruitment that happens here.
right,
So
right.
it's better that you're in the country and then you apply in person. I have not seen many employers here who are hiring people from a different country, because with the influx here, there are people here who can suit the job quickly.
Yeah, with that, I'll add some things with it. In Canada, what matters more, Canadian work experience and Canadian education. Bottom line.
Yes,
If you have Canadian education, you will get a Canadian job. If you have a Canadian job, you'll get a better Canadian job. That is the bottom line. Work experience from any other country is considered as sorry, a foreign work experience, right? Outside Canada. So the Canadian recruiters, they look for candidates who have experience inside Canada. They know how the things are taken care inside Canada, not outside Canada. And you should have a valid work permit in order to work in Canada, and you should have a permanent residency or a citizenship. These three things are must if you are applying for any job
job.
with any degree. So these things you have to consider: first, a valid work permit, if not permanent residency, or the best thing is Canadian citizenship. These things are must in order to secure a job in Canada. Okay, moving on to the next question. Please tell us, can we give licensing exam while doing PhD? And are these paid or sponsored? And do we get stipend during PhD, sir? So now these things are again very confusing. See, the people, that is what tell that when you start thinking about immigrating to Canada, you should get a proper guidance. You
Yeah,
can't think doing a PhD and going for under
and
the college
license.
process. It just
It's it's won't happen.
it is it won't happen because PhD program won't allow you to do that,
Yeah,
right?
licensing process is very, as I said over and over again, you will give good 1.5 years of your life to this process if you want to clear. Like,
Yeah,
good 1.5 years every day, every day.
yes, exactly. So you have to keep this thing out of your mind that doing a PhD or doing a master's will help you with some things. No, it is not going to help you. Uh, was your job profile related to dentistry? Dr. Varun, you have said this before. When you started, when you finished your education
When I finished my education, as in my master's in administrative sciences.
in Canada, right?
Yeah, see, it's very. I had my master's in Canada. Was it related to dentistry? No, it was related to. It was more like public health. So you would have heard of masters in public health. My masters was in administrative sciences, global health being my majors. So to answer your question, it was not related to dentistry, but it gave me an upper hand. I saw a question here that if I have that masters, would that help in in the university admissions? Of course it will, even though it's not dentistry. My goal, I tell you guys, my goal for doing master in administrative sciences and global health was to study the healthcare system before I get into it.
Right,
So when I got into dentistry, I knew how the administrative side of the healthcare works here.
right,
So that gave me a little bit of guidance. And also, I needed that job to secure my PR. I needed that job to save for my equivalency process.
right, right.
But to answer your question, no, my job that I did for 1 year or all sorts of my odd jobs, they were not related to dentistry.
Yeah. So we have some little bit of time to answer a few of the question, and
Sure, sir.
rest question. You can see 25 questions. We'll answer those with the mail. What sort of volunteer work is considered by university? Volunteer work, again, Varun, you tell about your volunteering work, then I'll tell
Yes,
about
sir.
my volunteering work.
Yes, sir. So your volunteer work doesn't have to be dentistry based. Canada is a country where where you give to the community. You work for the community a lot. So what I used to do, we used to go on to from the university that I was in. We used to go to the beach and clean the beaches for the public. We hosted blood donation camps for the individuals. So a lot of work like this. Like I used to work in a food bank to help people, homeless people with food and everything. So they see all sorts of it, how much you're contributing to the community. So that's
Right.
what I did basically. But if you have a different version of volunteer work, yeah, and I know my friends also, they used to go in dental offices. Uh, Used to also, the dentists were very kind to let us. I also shadowed under a dentist after I finished my equivalency process before I
Right.
got my license. I used to shadow under a lot of dentists just to see how dentistry works here and everything. And my friends, when they were applying for university, I saw a question here too. When they were applying for university, before they applied, they used to go with a lot of dentists and used to shadow them, help the assistants with sterilization, help the office. So they used to do all sorts of voluntary work to get onto their resume.
So to be clear, the voluntary work is something that you are not get paid for. It has to be very
Yes,
clear. It is work
yes.
that you are not getting paid for. Like Varun said, uh, before I immigrated to Canada, I have already have interview from University Health Network, which is a biggest hospital chain in GTA in Toronto. So they have recruited me for volunteering work in their administrative section. Okay, so they have separate volunteering section. So you have to look for the opportunities where these voluntary work will do. So having some, you don't have to give all of your time. You just have to tell them that out of 1 week,
Yeah,
I can come here for volunteering for 4 hours. I can come here for five
yeah,
hours. So that is completely doable, and that is what you should be doing because you engage with different people. You network, you get socialized. So that is again,
exactly.
you never know which network, which connection will pay you at what time. Okay, so when you move to Canada, it is very good thing to make new connections, and voluntary work is something that will help you a lot in getting that.
Well, sir, just to answer questions for, if someone's on student visa looking for work, any sorts of odd jobs and all, I used to have my resume. I landed in Canada on 14th of May 2014. They took 1 year to give us, 1 month to give us the work permit.
Yeah,
In between that 1 month, I used to just take my resume, just a rough resume, and go to any possible store I
yeah,
could and just drop in my resume.
yeah,
And then as soon as I got my work permit on 14 June. I got the work permit at the 8, I think 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. I was at work. So it
yeah.
depends how desperate you are, and how well you want to manage everything around you. But just be systematic. Don't be here and there.
Again, one thing is, when you go with some reference, okay, when you go for an interview, when you go for some volunteering work with a reference on your resume, that thing also pays you a lot. You have to
Very,
have
so
some
very well
reference
said.
that will come with networking. Do a lot
Very
of
well said.
networking with a lot
Yeah.
of people and all those things. Yes, so
Make
that's it.
sure people around you know you. Introduce yourself.
Know you.
People are very friendly here. Just introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to
Yeah.
the next question. I think I'll probably take two more questions, then we can sign off. Fresh graduates right after their internship, is DDS is the right way of equivalency route? So this is from Pranavi Reddy. So she's talking about if she choose a degree completion program or a bridging program instead of uh, end up equivalency process. Again, highly subjective question, right?
So, but
Very
here,
subjective. Very
here the
subjective.
good thing is, here a good thing is, if you're a fresh graduate, everything is very fresh. Your knowledge is very fresh. So you are, as a fresh graduate, you are actually at a better point than others who are
Yeah.
4 years or 5 years pass out. Because when you're a fresh graduate, everything is very fresh. So you get into
But
your
the Varun, the real
AFK.
problem here is for fresh graduates. is you are not eligible for express entry as you don't
Yeah, yeah,
have any work
yeah, yeah.
experience.
No,
So
sorry, I
that is the one
not
point
PR,
you have.
not PR.
And
Yeah, you're
in
not
that
eligible for
case,
DDS.
and
Yes, sir.
yeah, you're not eligible for DDS. But in that case, nowadays, there are many MDS programs in Canada which are paid, right? They pay
Yeah.
stipend. So
Yes.
when you're doing your MDS, those 3 years can be counted as a work experience. Okay, and after that you get eligible for your PR. Then also you can apply for these DDS programs or the master's program. That will
But
also
sir,
help
if
you a lot.
yeah, but if you're a fresh graduate, just like I was, and you entered Canada through a student visa, and you straight away get into the NDB process,
Yes,
because some of
yes.
the I had some of my friends who were studying, doing different courses, and they were taking the NDB process
Mhm.
also. So you're at an
So
advantage because you're very fresh, your
yeah,
memory is very fresh. So you can do
yes,
it, but no DDS. For DDS, you need to be a permanent resident.
yeah, yeah. Please explain what to do if I want to do MPH and what is the future of doing MPH. Now, healthcare system, public healthcare in Canada is not that evolved as it has in United States because seeing the population of Canada. Uh, Varun, would you like to shed some light on
Yes,
this?
sir. Yes, sir. So I'll beg to differ, sir. No, I do understand that the healthcare is, but healthcare in Canada also, it's extremely, it's very good. Uh, I
Yeah,
have, I have seen some healthcare things for my own, but as far as job is concerned, I said over and over again, I did my master's in administrative sciences in healthcare. When I was doing these 2 years, I made sure, as I said, that everyone in that university, they know me, from the professors to the student advisor to the student director, everyone. I was into a lot of activities. I was managing, of course, with my job, I was managing time. In my fourth semester
like
of
you are
this
in,
master, yes, sir. So in my
like you are
fourth
in,
semester,
yeah,
yes, sir. In my fourth semester of my masters, in my last semester, I took a co-op internship, an unpaid internship for 6 months. In that
yeah,
unpaid internship, I used to work Monday to Thursday, 8 to 5, and then on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I used to work as in a restaurant as a waiter or as a bartender, and my expenses were from there. What advantage did I get after I did that unpaid internship? I wasn't paid anything for 6 months, but as soon as my internship ended and as soon as I graduated, I had a job offer from that same very company with a knock A and a knock B job in
right,
my hand, which secured my permanent
yeah,
residency, and it was a good paying job also. So you have to be very proactive. If you are coming on a student visa, you have to be
yeah,
very proactive. You have to be very aware of your surroundings, and you should know the process well. As Dr. Abhijit is focusing
right,
and is telling you that you have to make sure that you have the correct guidance. You can be on student visa, but if you don't know
yeah,
how to get that permanent residency, what all you need for that permanent residency, what program is best for you, you will be in different direction, and then your work permit would be expiring and you would be like, oh, what should I do next? So make sure before
right.
you immigrate as a permanent resident or as a student, you know the process of permanent residency, you know the process of student visa, and you know the process of NDB equivalency in and out.
Right, right, right. Yeah, so we still have lot of questions. I can see
Sir,
33
one
or 40.
question I saw, I think one of the doctors had asked about the age barrier. Even
Yeah,
you apply for my masters I was doing, I had students with me who were 35, who were 45, and in
yeah,
this equivalency process, saw a question about age barrier in equivalency process. There is no age barrier in equivalency process.
yeah.
I have
There is no
seen a
age barrier.
s- I have a si- I've seen a 60-year-old dentist. She so ambitious, and she did it with
Yeah,
kids, with all the responsibilities. She did it.
right.
So yeah, it's
It's
about
just your
how ambitious
dedication
you
and
are.
your hard
Yeah,
focus. Yeah,
yeah.
it's your
There's no age
dedication
barrier.
that pays off, right?
Yeah.
Right. There is no age barrier. Some university they consider your age like if you have taken long gap after your study, 5 years or 10 years. Some university might consider that, but there are always options for you
There
available.
are
You
options.
if you
Yes.
know where exactly you have to look for those options, right? So I think, yeah, this is pretty much it. Rest of the questions we'll try to answer by mail. Okay, because we have already 1 hour and 20 minutes into our webinar. Okay, so I hope Dr. Varun, he has also some commitments for the day, and
Yeah.
we don't want to take much of his
No,
time.
sir. Sir, my
And but
pleasure, sir.
I really thank you from bottom of my heart that you
No,
gave
sir.
your
My
precious
pleasure, sir.
time out of your routine, and you helped us guide in this process very well with your experiences. And I really appreciate the things that you did, that you have gone
Thank
through.
you.
I just really appreciate all those things. And
Thank you, sir.
I
Thank
again
you.
thank you so much for coming here today to the
Pleasure is all
platform of
mine, sir.
International Canada IDC. And on behalf of all the candidates and myself, I thank you again. Thank you so
And
much.
my pleasure, sir. And good luck. Good luck to everybody. And if you've seen a dream, you can do it. You can easily do it.
Yeah,
Just make sure you have the right guidance. That's it.
exactly, exactly. Thank you. Thank you so
Okay, sir.
much, Varun.
All right.
I'll see you
Nice
soon.
meeting
See you soon.
everybody. Nice meeting you,
Yeah.
sir. Bye,
Thank you.
sir.
Bye bye. Take care. So I hope this program was helpful. It was informative for all of you, and will be connected through our platform, through my website, through my WhatsApp group, and everything. And I hope my venture, International Dentist Canada (IDC), will help you a lot in achieving your journey, in achieving your dream. Because dream, when you see a dream, it doesn't come cheap. You have to pour something that you got. Okay, so I hope I'll be able to help you in your journey of immigrating and moving to Canada. So I again thank you everyone on behalf of IDC team and everyone. So I really appreciate you giving your time and coming for this webinar. So see you soon for the next webinar. And if you have any suggestions, if you want any other things from my side, just let me know. You know where to look, you know where to send me a message, a WhatsApp message, or a mail on my IDC website. So till the next webinar, signing off, Dr. Abhijit Patil. Bye bye. Take care.